In this video, we will talk about unique constraints. So unique constraint is again a validation rule that you put on your column in a table to say that this column can only include unique values. So we don't want any duplicates in this column. That needs to be unique. And that again depend on your business rules. Uh, but what we're going to use is in this demo, we'll use a products table to say we want the product name to be unique at all times. So we don't want any duplicate values in the product name column. So it simply wouldn't make sense for a user to see two products with the same name and doing the same thing. Now, the way around that is adding a unique constraint to your table. Now, an example of the unique constraint is primary key. So primary key is already added to the our product ID table, ID column. But what we're going to do is we're going to have another constraint on our product tables. This time we're going to check to make sure that the name of the product is also unique, not just the ID. Now, to do that, right click on your table. Let's go to the design window. Once the design window is opened, uh, if you can remember from our last video, when we added a check constraint, you saw that there is an option in our menu bar which says manage check constraint, or you could also right click and say add check constraints. But there is no option to add a unique constraint. Now, the way SQL Server works with unique constraints, that SQL Server does the unique constraints through indexes. So index actually is a way of keeping your data in alphabetical order. So that means at the moment we have products in our name column. They could be stored in any order. But when we add an index, what the index will do is it will keep a backup copy of the same data in alphabetical order. And you could tell it whether the alphabetical order needs to be Z to A or A to Z. But the default way is just keeping it to the SQL Server or the Windows recommended way of keeping it to ascending. So now that we've right click on the column, you see that there is an option to say indexes and keys. So we'll click on this. Now, as we said, unique identifiers or unique constraint is an example of that is primary key already. So you can see that we already have a PK, which is a primary key on our products table, and it is a unique value stored in ascending order. Now, to add a new constraint, we will click on add. It's provided us with a name. Now, this is a practice that's been followed by most developers. So the way to name your index is that you would put ix underscore the table name. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go hover over the general, and then here is the column that you need that unique constraint on. Click on the three dots. Now you've got the column name. In our case, we want the name column to be unique. And as mentioned, you have the option to say to keep that backup data, the copy of the data in ascending order or descending order. It's recommended as ascending, so I'm just going to keep that as a default, ascending order. Now, the bit which will make sure that your data is unique is that is unique column or is unique option here. It's currently set to no. Even if you add a constraint and if it is set to no, your data will still not be unique. You can still insert duplicate values into the same column. What we're going to do is we'll change that from no to yes. So now this way it will make sure that everything that you enter into the name field is unique. And the way indexes do a check is the data will be stored from A to Z. And if you say, for example, let's say you added another uh, product which was called laptops, we have laptops in the system already. So what the SQL Server will do is it will check on the index and it will just sort of drop into the L bit, that relevant laptop section. It will check to see does that name exist already. If it is, it will throw up an error saying you already have a data which is called that you can't insert duplicates, and if it isn't, then the data will be inserted into your table. Now, the name of the index, as I said, the practice is to keep it IX, but that means it is a standard index. In our case, it's not a standard index. We do have a unique index. I'm just going to put a UX, that means unique index. It is on the products table. And I also want to say that it is the name of the product that needs to be uh, unique. So we have the constraint built up now. Click on close. Now you can see the asterisk after your form, after your table name. So that means the changes have been made, and now we need to make sure that's saved. To do that, just click on Save Product, and we'll just wait for that to save now. Our changes are now saved. So if I close this, go back to the Object Explorer. Now, product, I'd say select top 200. And what we're going to do now is we will just add another table or another entry into this table, but we will name it with existing. So let's say we say we've got electronics as the category. So electronics will be allowed because we don't have any unique constraints on the category and we don't want that. Uh, but the unique constraint is on the name field. So in this case, I've got smartphone already. That's row number 3. I'm going to add smartphone again. So if I said smartphone, so you've got smartphone. I'm just going to say this 399. And the rest of the fields, by the way, they could all be unique. So it won't matter. It is, well, they don't need to be unique. They could be anything. But the data will not be inserted into the table because we have a unique constraint set up on the name field. So I'm just going to do 14 of those. Entry date, I'm not going to put entry date because that's the default value to today's date. So if I hit enter, now you see that we've got the error. No row was updated, it's saying, but then the error message in here is cannot insert duplicate row in object, which is products, and we have a unique constraint that says unique product name. The duplicate value is smartphone, so it's telling you what the default value is. And the way that it could do that is because a copy of what we've inserted into the name column is stored in the index, but that is in alphabetical order. So as soon as we said hit that, SQL Server went, found the smartphone in S section of the ascending order, and it said that exists already, you can insert it again. Now we can say 1, let's click OK, and if we just say smartphone new and hit enter, now you can see that the data is inserted. Now we do Control R, that will just do a refresh on your table, and you can see your new name, your new product is added in here as well.